Hello and welcome to IMP's WWE Adventures podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Help the network out by giving us a 5-star review, give a donation directly through Red Circle, and become one of the amazing community by joining the Social Suplex Discord. Link is in the description. Order merch from all our shows over at chopped-tees.com. Thank you to Dickie. Read the newsletter. Thank you to Trish and Tim for all their hard work and everybody who contributes as always. Listen to the other top-notch shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, All Things Elite, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Trish and Sarah, Tunnel Talk, and Sam Brown's AEW Match Guide. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp. And it's a quick look back at the WWE week that was. 30 minutes of justifying taking the blood money paycheck, baby. Oh, it's a weekend. It's certainly a week. We've got Monday setting it up, and we just had the whole discourse last week about CM Punk. Then Friday we got John Cena folding back, making sure that every single thing that I said, I was on more than one thing, and on both things I said, oh, WWE are never going to fold into their storylines like properly, the whole CM Punk comments or anything. Yeah. Then John Cena's promo aired, and and I'm just like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. I was completely wrong. That's always good to know. Always good to just check yourself and just be proved completely wrong. It's always nice. Then the weekend happens, and we'll go over why the weekend is in terms of this storyline. We'll talk about it. So yes, it's an interesting time for WWE to be running this storyline with Punk and Cena specifically. But we'll get to it. Anyway, I'm stuck here talking about WWE whilst AEW are having like a string of just great shows. Like, sure, I struggled to finish the 4-hour shows just because I got only a finite amount of time. But to go from them to the Arena Mexico show, they're just on a roll, and it really feels like they're building it all in well. Whilst I'm kind of, WWE are entering a phase out of their lull where they're kind of starting to put pieces together for SummerSlam. Only for me to find out that maybe those pieces weren't building for SummerSlam and it was just a short-term thing. Like, please do not say, we're not in the Vince era, but just doing something for a short-term gain is such a Vince thing. Like, it's fine to do it every now and then, but we'll see. I'm not as optimistic as I was this time next week. All my positivity. It's like, yeah, Jerry Imp is dead. We're back to it is what it is, isn't it? Back to me doing a Meltzer thing. Anyway, I need to get this recording done because where I'm recording is sweaty and hot as fuck. So I need to finish this recording. Anyway, with that, I nearly said bid you adieu. I'm ready to end it. It's one of those weeks. It's not going to take me long to get through this. But it is a week full of King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring qualifying. It is a week full of setting up stuff for Night of Champions and for what's going to be coming in the aftermath to that, as we do kind of direction and tease a little bit towards SummerSlam. So with that, let's jump on over to Lexington, Kentucky. 2 hours, 3 minutes on Netflix for me, on USA for the rest of yous. I hope you like 4-person matches. We've got 4 of the bastards. And the first one didn't start until 25 minutes or so into the show. So within a 90-minute span, we're going to watch 4 Fatal 4-Ways. Like, oh no. And then John Cena CM Punk had quite a long segment. So I'm looking at the clock being like, I think I've only got 15 minutes left of this show. And I've got 2 Fatal 4-Ways. Like, oh no. Oh no. I won't lie. Every match being between 4 people was a bit much. That's a bit much. So yeah. Anyway, let's jump on over. It did me in. I watched AEW earlier today, and I was just like, I've got to talk about a show with 4 Fatal 4-Ways on it. I was done by the end of this show. Anyway, let's jump on over to Lexington, Kentucky.
And he says, I'm ending it right here, right now. Cody counters. Cody is countered. Cody Rhodes. Crossroads counter. Hooks the leg. And does it.
Yes, we'll get to Cody winning his main event in a short little while, but I am just going to talk about the King of the Ring matches overall. We had 2 men's and 2 women's, 4 Fatal 4-Ways. Oh, like it was just like, by the time that I got to the main event, like the 4th and final Fatal 4-Way, I won't lie, by the time that match got underway, I never wanted to see a Fatal 4-Way match ever again. Like, 4 in one night was definitely too much. Like, I'm done with them now. That's been done. Like, if you play the video game Until Dawn cures you of jump scares by having so many of them. It's basically exposure therapy. I've been cured of Fatal 4-Ways. They are now completely ineffective on me. They won't do anything for me. I am now done. Especially the WWE style of them. I've seen every way they like to do these 4-way matches, and I have now had my fill. Never want to see one again. The matches themselves, like, they were all fine, and definitely some of the fatigue comes from the fact that for the build to the Money in the Bank show, we were getting triple threats every single week, and the feel of the matches is identical, and the interference defenses from people stopping their enemies from getting through feels identical. So even though there's like one extra person, the dynamics are different, and it does mean you get like, I guess, an extra additional flow. There's less downtime because there's always somebody to stand back up who's got the energy to keep going. But it does mean that the matches feel the same. So it's been like 4 weeks building up to Money in the Bank. 4 weeks, come on. These shows are so tightly packed together. 3 weeks building up to Money in the Bank. What feels like 2 building up to King of the Ring. And I've seen so many of these multi-man matches from WWE now that I'm done. I want to be finished. After this week, don't do one for ages. I am fine. I'm absolutely fine. I want to see these multi-person qualifying matches specifically. But the first one I'll talk about was the Randy Orton versus Carmelo Hayes versus Aleister Black versus LA Knight. A fun enough telly wrestling affair. Melo and Black gave us flashes of pace. Perfect for Randy to be watching from the corner and going, whoa, like a Vince-era third commentator. Hell, even Knight works as an injector of pace in this format, with each lad snapping in to hit their shit before they're interrupted. The fans chanted, "This is awesome," more than once, but as I've said, it's now shifted to usage in WWE crowds as it's just chanted whenever they're invested and enjoying the match. The Raw previous results set us up to expect surprises, and it was the Killer Bees who attacked Knight to set up Melo for an easy frog splash win, but he took way too long smirking and caught a lovely looking RKO as he landed on LA. Like, no surprise here, like, I'm all for it. You gotta have the obvious ones win now and then. That's fine. I mean, the men's one was just your predictable winners. You don't set those brackets and go, okay, what are they going to set up? Oh yeah, it'd be cool if we saw this person versus that person. That's just exactly what they've done. The match itself was alright. By the time I get to the main event, and the main event feels like it was the first 4-way on the show, but I was mentally done by then. I'd seen so many fatal 4-ways just do this jam-packed thing, especially after seeing the triple threats. I just know how they like to do them. I was just done with them. Like, it was fine. But his main event was Damian Priest versus Cody Rhodes versus Andrade versus Shinsuke Nakamura. A fun enough main event with a Slim Jim table for Cody to fall through. The Nick Khan era is in full swing, baby. If you thought product placement before was a bit iffy, I mean, I prefer it compared to a sponsored gimmick match that they would used to do. This is better than that. If you're gonna have like a really forced sponsorship spot like this where Cody pulls out a table and it's a Slim Jim sponsored table, and I'm meant to expect that this is an improvised kind of combat scenario which is being simulated before me, but he pulls out the sponsored table, like, whatever. It's definitely better than the zombie match. It's definitely better than, I think we got some form of like Pizza Hut Battle Royal or something one year. Like, some of it genuinely horrifically bad. Unwatchable shit. This match is enjoyable as hell. It just has one moment that takes you out of it because of a sponsorship spot. It's corny and it's shitty. It feels very American. Especially watching it from afar, like, yeah, this is shit. But the investment in Rhodes himself just gave us that needed reminder as to why he's so popular as champion last year. They even had Barrett talk about a noticeable jump in energy when the man entered his flow. They keep referring to him as the captain and quarterback, and the crowd reactions really do reflect that. Even if we're kind of past the era of having one top lad and everyone else is essentially built to be fed to him, we're not in that era anymore. And this match was a nice reminder, like, something that has been missing is just that incredibly over top babyface guy just hasn't been in WWE since WrestleMania, and he's been sorely missed, which I think was also needed, just the absence to make the heart grow fonder. That was a nice of the crowd are energized to cheer for Cody again. In the end, Rhodes Cody Custer had Priest rolling out the ring. The Crossroads trio to Andrade was halted by Knackers, a man who previously had the man's number, but here Cody easily slipped out of the sleeper into a swift Crossroads win. His victory doesn't send him straight into Randy, with Orton versus Zayn being the first semi-final and Cody facing the winner of Raw's, thank God, final fatal 4-way of this stuff. On the women's side of the Queen of the Ring qualifiers, when calling them qualifiers, they're first round matches, but because it's a run of fatal 4-ways, they just feel like qualifying matches and they play exactly like the Money in the Bank qualifying matches. So that's just kind of what I'm calling them, I guess, because that's the style of match that they are. They don't feel like a first round in a tournament match, even though that's what they're calling it. It feels like a qualifying match, and then we got the semi-finals and the final, that the actual tournament. It's what it kind of feels like. It's because they try to do a big tournament and try to feel like there's all these people in this tournament, therefore it's a big normal tournament, but it's not. You've got like 2 weeks to do it. So you cram everything together. You get a situation like this where this show, every single match is a 4-way. Piper Niven versus Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax versus Mia Yim. 3 stronger lasses and a poor meeting who's going to be bumping for them all. A good thing too, because the crowd took a nice nap when the other 3 moved at a slower pace. Piper and Nia formed a team and the crowd didn't really react to the eventual blow-up. Really, the reactions only kicked up when Mia was a part of the flow. I did pop for the announce desk launch to Jay that genuinely had Barrett catching the woman. In the end, setting up Niven having the match won over Yim after charging Jax through a barricade, before Cargill rose back up and hit Jaded for the win. But the reaction to this match in the crowd, there were a lot of quiet parts. That's what I meant by when there was no reaction to the split up. Just when it was the 3 bigger lasses, like we'll see it on Raw when it's the 3 bigger lads just chopping and charging at each other and the crowd are loving it. They're in for it. For here, the three bigger, stronger women, they were dead for. Like, every time it was those three, it seemed Niven was doing her absolute best to try and be the one to inject the energy needed, but it just wasn't there. And you could hear the crowd just go so quiet during it. Then Michin would come in and she'd just take everything. Like, she was never positioned as the person of importance or the person of focus in what was happening, but whenever she got in the ring, the crowd got invested, and it just felt so noticeable in this match. But yeah, again, not invested in her, but that's just because of the way the flow of the match was built. I feel like she was the part that made this match relatively work and not suck. But the actual the rest of the flow of the three actual people who we were told what actually mattered, it was what it was. And the other women's match was Alba Fyre versus Charlotte Flair versus Candice LeRae versus Bliss. Can't say the names, I'm not turning my echo off. This happened after the Punk Cena segment, which we'll get to after this, and before the main event, so no surprise that the crowd were quiet as hell as Flair delivered her patented chops. Not actually any worse or better than the 4 ways we'd seen so far, but this properly had the crowd as quiet as a Japanese one. In America, that quiet doesn't mean they're being respectful though. In the end, Flair had the better of the Scottish with the figure 8 locked in, but Bliss just snapped in and hit LeRae with her inverted Sister Abigail thing, forgotten what it's called, to get the pin before Alba could tap. And it's seen as Bliss showing Charlotte Flair again that she doesn't need the brains of Flair to be successful and get the better of her. And as their feud continues. Like, I wouldn't ever say that I'm invested in the Bliss-Flair storyline. However, the Flair character desperately needs a feud that just is about her character. because there's just so many issues with her character that became so apparent over the WrestleMania road that I feel like this is the kind of storyline where you can figure stuff out for her, even if the crowd's not like super invested. It's kind of necessary for when you get to the WrestleMania road and you've done that work with a character to figure out something a little bit more than I'm the champion, I go woo, or whatever. Like, the way she was delivering her promos and the way they were written in a way, this felt like such a leftover of the Vince era. It's kind of been left behind with a lot of characters. So it was less of me being excited to see how could the Flair character be written for in this current era, and it was more, she felt like a holdover of the previous era rather than adapting into it. And this is the type of thing where you can start to change stuff. You can start to do that, even if not super invested. But anyway, onto the main big thing from this show. John Cena. It's just hell of a great timing to be doing this feud. Of all the Saudi shows, of me being completely wrong last week when I said they'd never fold the Punk Saudi Arabia comments back into the WWE TV product, it's completely wrong. Completely with it. It coincides with the Kingdom executing a second journalist, this time Turki Al Jazeera, who exposed government corruption and highlighted women's rights. So just tied that in with the messages you're going to hear on the show whilst the ladies are doing their wrestle. John Cena talked off another of his limited dates, opened the show and explained why Punk had the reaction he did to the title match being in Saudi Arabia. Not only that, but also hindsight rewriting the Mania Road booking to make sense for the current version of the Cena character we have before us now. Now every beat was a part of his plan, using those same tactics to put Punk in a position where if he wants the championship, he'll have to admit he's a hypocrite, which feels like wild messaging to actually be including on TV in the story. So going to the Wonderful Kingdom is a bad thing? Like, not that the audience this is written for will question, but there will be people who are watching and go, oh, what comments? And they'll search it up and go, oh, oh. Which why does I expected from the Monday Night Raw promo, like, that was a thing, that was said, and then I was expecting it to be dropped, and then they just build from the match from there. And it's more of like a off the screen, you can read into what Cena's saying, but they're saying it on the screen. It's like, no. He made comments about why you'd never go to Saudi Arabia, but on a WWE show of theirs. And here we are, where if he wants his title shot, he's got to destroy his morals and go that way. When Cena said that, I was like, okay, so that sets up something for Punk to rebuke against, because this is like a genuine, huge question of Punk's character. Like, how does he respond to this? And it appears by justifying it, and then I think we'll get to it, but that's kind of like part of the writing error that's happened here. As a fan that's looking at it, the phrase I used last week was, I was saying that nobody will be as aware of the morals and anything than Punk himself, or what he's thought about in his own head to himself. But he would have come up with his justifications to do it. So, unfortunately, his promo when he comes out on Smackdown, it never went into his character being questioned and making that the forefront, because it wants you to support Punk and be behind him. But unfortunately, it's justifications for doing the thing. It never broke past that barrier into fully questioning his character. It more became like, I will chase you to the end of the earth, John Cena, I'll go after you, blah blah blah, I'll go to Mars if I have to, and that's kind of what I'm treating the Saudi Arabia trip as. It's like, okay, so you're justifying it. Next comes the question of character, right? And there just isn't any. that part doesn't get questioned, which then begs the point of, well, why even bring it up if you're not going to question it? If you're just going to bring in this beat and then use it for fuel to Punk to do his fire thing, that this is proof that I will chase to the end of the year to get my shot to try and be the one to stop this thing when I do it in the year from happening. I will bankrupt my own morals to stop you, as much as I hate you. But it's still in the bracket of justification, and it needed Cena when John Cena was given all of that speech. speech and it's all the hoorah, it's all momentum. For me, it's so desperately needed Cena to then just fully question his character. But it doesn't, because he wants you to be on the side of Punk. And for me, that's where the entire thing just breaks down. If you're going to bring it up, if you're going to fold it back in. Because there were two separate scenarios. One is don't bring it up. Two is don't fold the reality back in. And two different scenarios, they've kind of made you question, well, what did Punk say? Why is he a hypocrite and all that stuff? Made you question it twice. So to then bring that stuff up, have him justify going to Saudi Arabia, then not questioning his character. It was like, he shows he's a hypocrite by going, okay, so when he said he'd go, why didn't you question it? It feels so weird to have brought it in. It's like they've tried to do the folding back reality into the show thing, which WWE wrestling does all the time. But it feels like an odd choice of something to do because they can never really do it. So it's an awkward line that they're kind of dancing. But just in terms of like, why did Cena bring it up? What's the plan? To then not question his character once he's given his hoorah justification. I feel like, well, he didn't fully commit. He didn't go. You've done the big setup. I think that's the main point, is Punk was meant to be the truth teller in the segment and John Cena's a guy full of lies. But for Punk to prove him wrong, kind of needs Cena to get this little verbal victory here. Just be like, yeah, you're taking the match. When you turn up, that's my proof. Type of scenario. You took the paycheck, blah, blah, blah. But there's none of that. He doesn't say anything. He just takes it and is like, oh, I'm angry here. Oh, no, the truth's got me. Like, just wasn't at all what I feel like the characters what they've set up actually needed to make it worth it. Then that's the main thing, is bringing it up now isn't worth it. They could have got to this point with any old shit. They didn't need to bring this reality stuff into it because he's not really committed to it. But at the start of the show, I realised I jumped to the segment later in the show because there were two John Cena segments. Segment 1 opened the show and out came Cody Rhodes, just reminding us that he's likely the guy who's going to be dethroning him. Also out came Randy Orton and then LA Knight, and then okay, I'm just going to go straight into the Fatal 4-Way. But at the end of that opening segment, Cena was jumped by Truth on the ramp. We then got a backstage segment with hilariously hammy acting, just mime acting, shouting between Nick Aldis and John Cena after an ad break. It was just so over the top. It does never change, John. And then later in the show, we found ourselves with angry John back in the ring, using Killings as the first man to get this version of Cena all angry and calling out for a fight. And that's when we got CM Punk coming out as the fight instead, and we got that whole segment, ending it with the saying that he followed Cena to Mars in order to catch him out. I see through you, I always have. Then out the ring as Killings jumped and Punk quipped, the truth hurts. So we just immediately swung into that stuff. That's what I meant by, after CM Punk gave his thing, there was no question of character. And I felt like if that's what we've been set up for. It's for Punk doing his hoorah as motivation and justification for doing the thing that makes him a hypocrite. That's when John Cena wins. He's done it. He's justifying his reasons of doing the bad thing. John Cena has won. But no, he hasn't, because in the WWE logic, the guy's amped up to do the thing and defeat the bad guy, job done. I won't say I'm disappointed, because this was the bar kind of expected, just with the addition of John Cena bringing it up again and saying he's got to prove himself to be a hypocrite. That was the part I wasn't expecting. That's the part I got completely wrong. The segment that came later with him doing the whole hoorah thing, that's the bit that makes sense. To be kind of relevant, but not really. You might as well have not said it, because Punk's going to get justifying his reasons for doing it anyway. The way John Cena then set it up, and talking about how he's got these master plans, he then didn't enact a plan. It's odd. It might be a follow-up promo, but it doesn't have the same effect. If he delivers basically what I'm saying here, where he turns up at a later show and goes, you accepting it proves me right, it's still the same character beat, but it doesn't have the same effect if you don't do it there and then in the moment to make it feel like a plan. Otherwise it feels like Cena reacting to it and trying to twist a loss into his favour again. Anyway, let's jump over to the other notes. Our United States champion Jacob Fatu has his first full goody promo after finally fully turning on Solo at Money in the Bank. Sikoa appeared on the Tron in his professionally lit setting. Cobb looked kinda hilarious in the background, like a bodyguard potato with shades on. The lighting for Solo meant Jeff's forehead was entirely in shadow above his shades, so he was just glasses and the bottom half of a face. I'm sure Solo said something too. I'm sure he's saying words to Fatu, but I didn't hear any of it. That's generally my recap. Move on to the next bit. Our women's Money in the Bank winner Naomi got her full pantomime villain victory promo, straight up calling out Stratton, who strode on out in her ring gear for a let's have a match right now then, Ducky. Angry Nia attacked the champion after Naomi had gone. Crowd apathy that we're doing this again, but at least with the setup of the heels not being aligned. And finally, the Motor City Machine Guns got Aldis' nod to be the lads to face the Wyatts, and I'm sure Loomis knows better than anyone, but this ending was super fucking rough. Your classic man forgets bit as he went for the pin at the wrong point and completely halted the flow. Crowd were already quiet, which just made the fuck up even louder. It's just like, ugh, gritting your teeth, like, oh, this is, oh my god, we're all getting through this together. Like, oh. So yeah, out of all all the shows, surely this is the one I give 4 stars. Surely this is the Bret Hart 4 stars. Surely. Too many Fatal 4-Ways. Just Jesus Christ. Yeah, too many Fatal 4-Ways, and the crowd were really excited for the whole Cena thing, but I personally just felt like the possible character route for, I guess, for Cena as well, not just the whole Punk getting his morals really questioned, all of that stuff, felt like they wimped out with something basic. Just like, I remember at the time, I just felt like, that's just kind of generic, you might as well have not done it. It's trying to drum up interest, controversy, but it's, you've not used it for the character work. Anyway, still hangovers from the past era. Anyway, let's jump on over to Green Bay, Wisconsin for Monday Night Raw. 1 hour 42 minutes for me, a nice light one, but we're back to it. I had a 2-hour show last week. I know, feel for me. 2-hour show. Back down to 1 hour 40. This is the shit. Let's jump over to Green Bay, Wisconsin for more Fatal 4-Ways. There's only 2. There's only 2 more, and it's kind of like, okay, brace for it. We only have to get through 2 more of these, and we're done. That's it. Let's jump on over to Sheamus, Rusev, and Big Bronson and Jey Uso in the main event of Monday Night Raw.
Can Jey Uso do it again? Bronson Reed's in trouble. Center of the ring. Uso splash again. Covered by Uso. Jey Uso with the win. What a win.
A match like this was needed for, especially Reed for me. As much as I like how the group is forming, the Killer Bees are kind of in danger of becoming just the heavies you beat. And Breaker in particular has so much more potential than that, especially with the aim of the group to surely elevate both Big Bs. But this match was a lovely main event telly fun. 3 big lads chopping and charging paired with Jey Uso's flashes, giving us Sheamus and Rusev too, that of which have been given such little room to make an impact that I accidentally keep writing his name as Miro in my notes, and I genuinely need to keep concentrating. It's more because, Rusev has not been given any room to make any impact in my brain, so he's still Miro. That character made an impact. That character's lodged itself in there. But here, nothing. He's still Miro. He's not made a Rusev impact for me, so it's still the same. It's just that previous version of him. Not his fault. It's just not been given much TV time or the space to do it. This stuff with Sheamus, this match here was the first time it felt like, okay, we're going somewhere finally. And obviously this was a vehicle to elevate Jey Uso back into his match, and he got his thing with Cody, and he's still showing the tear of war with the Big Bs. Still got his bandages around his ribs, so he's going into the fight with Cody hurt. We want tables after the ad break because during it, Rusev got thrown over the announce desk. That's all it takes. The flows of the 3 big lads were fun to watch, which was so perfect for Jey just to have his goody flashes before getting sent back down again, so that the big lads could swing their physical strikes and be the true kings of this match, in design for Jey to be the guy to get the biggest pops. But as he climbed high for the Uso splash, out came the big lads' fellow Killer Bee Breaker, which called out Sammy for our routine main event runouts. Once again, every telly main event has to flow as imitations of the WrestleMania 40 main. I've got so many interference endings here. Not that I'm complaining about getting to see Braun launch Sammy onto the announce desk right before a Pentatope, but it's the same thing, the commentator talking about how exciting it is, and we're getting it so often, it's just a bit too much. Do you count Smackdown as a reprieve when it doesn't happen as often on Smackdown? But it happens every week on Raw. It is still every week. All the chaos flowed into LA Knight costing Reed in comeuppance, but Jey to hit consecutive splashes for the win. A pissed off Seth Rollins stomped on out to take advantage of a worn and broken Jey, taking a while to roll up his sleeves because he's a bad guy and he's seething, he's amping it up. By the time he was ready, Cody Rhodes music hit and out came Uso's mate and King of the Ring semi-final opponent. Ooh, intrigue, drama. A minute of oiled up men staring at each other and the show eventually went off air. I still can't believe wrestling attracts homophobes. Sometimes this show's the most homosexual thing. Just 4 heavily panting, staring at each other, oiled up muscly men. I don't get how you can be homophobic and love this stuff. It's so gay. But yeah, they had a perfectly standard Raw main event. It's just that the 3 lads in Bronson Reed, Sheamus and Rusev, when they were having their back and forth and then Jey would jump in with their flashes, until the standard booking stuff, this match was really good. And arguably I could have done without it, but there was no other way to insert Seth into the show. They felt like they needed to insert Seth, and you get Cody running out as well. You got Seth in terms of those, especially what Seth is saying he's going to do, as well in terms of going for the championship now that he's Money in the Bank as well. What Cody's going for, that does logically add up as something he'd go for, but he's also protecting his opponent next week because he doesn't want to face a beaten down Jey. So there's a lot of nice little things being folded in, but it is yet another interference ending to a multi-man match. It's here we go again. So many. He's almost waiting for the run out. And this is the type of thing which does condition your audience to then stop paying attention to the matches because you're just waiting for the run out. However, at least this match it had Sheamus in it, so it was a banger. Just especially when it was those three. When it's the three big lads, it's just a ton of fun. And when you're expecting maybe a little bit of downtime, that's when Jay hits in and he gets the babyface pop. So it was built to kind of make him be the guy get the biggest cheers. It worked so well in that way. But again, interferences, yay. And the final Queen of the Ring first round fatal four-way match, to give it its proper title. Ivy Nile versus Raquel Rodriguez versus Stephanie Vaquer versus a returning Asuka. So great to have Asuka back with her first entrance theme too. Get out of here, Death Rebel. They wisely knew the money pairing was Asuka and Vaquer, so saved it as much as they could and gave us that glimpse to entice a Shaw matchup down the line. Speaking of holding back, we're also already at the point of baddies stopping the Devil's Kiss for heat. That's the by-trapped head drive. So, is there a more PG way of describing it? Is there a really boring wrestling way of describing it? Then Raquel ended up taking the thing on the apron to an even bigger pop that just delivering the move to Nile would ever have gotten. A match of the baddies stopping the flows of Vaquer and or Asuka until that was no longer possible, and one of them won. A great mix of styles in this one too, with a powerhouse striker, grappler, and Vaquer. It's like she's so all-round great, she's her own thing. They were able to play around with some inventive spots, like Raquel hoisting the two lighter lasses up, only for Asuka to drop kick them all from the top rope. The crowd chanted, "This is awesome." Right when Raquel had the better of Vaquer, Rhea Ripley interfered and got her revenge for the previous week. The tall Texan thrown back into the ring for Asuka to hit her running hip bump, now her branded Impact finisher called the Empress Impact. It's like, sure, whatever. Just good to see Asuka back. Just a quick little look in to Gunter versus Goldberg. The paycheck comes a calling, but it's not what you expect. Goldberg's back. We've talked having a Saudi Arabia show. Oh, I can put these pieces together. You would be wrong. So I was looking last week to an interesting setup of characters for SummerSlam and beyond, with Gunter's title reclaiming last week. But turns out the change was far shorter sighted than that. Rumoured to literally only be done so that the match with Goldberg could have a title on the line. Cool. Thanks, Sap, for that information. Cool. Saturday night's main event, not a Goldie return for a Saudi paycheck, which, to be fair, with the short match times anyway, I feel like Saturday night's main event is arguably the perfect place for this match. All of their matches are quick character showcases where you don't really get invested in the match. Absolutely perfect for a Goldberg flow. Absolutely perfect. And onto the, I guess, sucky situation, especially for what the WWE were building. Liv Morgan got injured. Io Sky's only other contender out. Liv opened the show with a very WWE-style script, bordering pantomime baddie promo. I'm sure there's another way of a female heel act to deliver their promos, but that's both shows this week having that hammy over-the-top delivery from her and Naomi. Io Sky made her way out to put the Judgment Day lass in her place, directly setting up a championship match. Something much needed with Rhea Ripley generally being the champion's only competitor even lined up on the blocks. Morgan asking to just hand the title over. Io teased doing it so she could give the lass a dropkick and lead commentary into saying Io won't give over that championship without a fight. I mean, yeah, that was already implied, but this was the most WWE segment there was. It's just so generic. And so the way that it flows and what the heel person does to receive the dropkick, it's the most run-of-the-mill kind of like heel shit. It's like, yeah, it's kind of sucky. The only thing that makes it slightly different is Dom's there, he did a bit, he got the Dom booze, and then straight, but it's the most generic bullshit. But later in the show, Morgan was set to face Kairi Sane and immediately off a single leg takedown bump, just a simple plant on the mat, and she dislocated her shoulder. This is one of those where you're like, it's not a fault. Obviously, I'm not a trained wrestler, but it didn't feel like the fault of anybody. Just that kind of sucky injury just so happened to occur to someone who had just returned from a movie shoot and was set for 2 big matches within this next month. An immediate big loss for Raw. Nikki Bella maybe needing something new for Evolution, someone new to dance with, and Io Sky's contender drink was already dry. So we're right back to only Rhea Ripley. Yeah, so yeah, you say speedy recovery. We don't know the extent of it, I think, at this point. Or I've not looked it up, I've not followed it, I've not checked in since the news was she dislocated it. And onto the other notes. Judgment Day drama check-in. Finn tried to get Raquel on side by being kind after the Queen of the Ring loss right after Liv was less kind, as well as applauding Roxanne for her win in front of Rodriguez. The tall ass was not out of Morgan's corner just yet, but we got that glimpse of what life without Liv's influence on the stable could be like. And who knows how much of this is now going to possibly have to either be sidelined, delayed, completely rewritten. Who they could possibly be going for the next match with Io, who hasn't had one. She needs somebody. She needs to defend it against one person before she gets to Rio at SummerSlam. AJ Styles faced JD McDonough, the man kinda still feeling like an afterthought, but there are worse IC title contenders for Dom to dance with. Asuka may have gotten her theme back, but Bayley's still coming out to that Death Rebel bullshit. The purple-haired ding-dong lady got her first promo back, confirming her goody status before ragging on Becky for taking her Mania match away from her. The Irish lass herself cut that local sports team bad heat. But she was there so Bayley could bounce off and directly call out the blatant insecurity, with Lynch made me chuckle just shouting from the sideline, "I'm trying to fix your hair." She was winning, doesn't it? It cuts to Bayley looking at her. She says that, then you get a shot of Bayley's hair. This made me laugh. Aldis was backstage and he set up a match between them for next week because he can do that on Raw now. Okay, I guess. I think they've set it up before where just sometimes one of them will be there and just doing stuff this week. They're more just general managers rather than specifically managers of each show, I think. And finally, we got our little reminder through Cross there about Sammy going for the world title. I mean, you can still do that Gunter, Sammy, Seth trio, and Cross is here just reminding us that Sammy is thinking about world title stuff. So if we've got that lining up, I enjoyed Raw more than I did SmackDown. Except with SmackDown, when they're coming out for that 4-way, mentally I was done. And that main event was the best of the 4 of them, but also I was mentally gone. Here, we only got 2, which is far, far better. I mean, I prefer 0 and enough time to do an actual tournament, but we got what we got. We're immediately on to the semi-finals just straight away. Just like no progression of what feels like a tournament, which is why it feels like qualification match. We're straight into the final 4 and it's taking place on SmackDown. There's just no room for this thing. But I felt like Raw was a very perfectly fine show, but it felt far easier to watch SmackDown. I got through SmackDown. I had a much better time. But still, it's a generic show that's absolutely fine for you to miss. There's nothing of huge value here. So yeah, that's kind of my review. It's one of those lesser weeks full of, again, every single match on SmackDown was a 4-way, or had 4 people in it because it was a tag, but still 4 people. Every one of them. But we get over to Raw as it felt like an easier show to watch, even if I'm not super invested in any stuff happening. But just to contrast it, I watched the AEW Arena Mexico show afterwards, and it just everything's hitting. It's a complete inverse of last year in terms of perception, especially just when I'm comparing the shows as well. Where one side with WWE, they feel like they are maybe figuring things out, but there's a lot of -1s at the moment. Whilst at AEW, the -1s are so few that you just have a blast of the time. It doesn't matter. You're just enjoying it. It's that thing of when you're on top, you can do nothing wrong, but when you're on the bottom, you can't do anything right. It feels like it's completely flipped from last year. In AEW, we're in a good stride for a long time before that perception shifted. But I feel like WWE are doing a lot of -1 stuff, which is kind of shifting stuff a little bit quicker than they would normally. Anyway, that does bring me to the end of the show. A perfectly fine week of television. And next week, probably saying the same stuff. Probably saying the same. I've got the King and Queen of the Ring semi-finals to get to, and it's the final building up to the Saudi Arabia show. So with that, I say thank you for listening and liking, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciate it. Never take it for granted. I'll be back this time next week to talk about WWE, so you don't have to watch it. Genuinely, at the moment right now, absolutely fine. And with AEW just hitting on all cylinders, if you're struggling for time, there is no reason. If somebody likes to try and watch everything, but you're struggling for time and you end up dropping something, feel like maybe Smackers or something like that. Just one of the WWE ones, just because AEW is just hitting such a great stride at the moment. Even though with me personally, it's normally Collision because it airs on a Saturday and just I don't get around to it. It's kind of sucks. For my schedule, I'm kind of well, I've still got Collision here, but I've not watched SmackDown and I need to actually watch SmackDown and make notes on it. So I was yeah. Anyway, with that, I say thank you for listening and I bid you adieu. Adios.